Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, on this Thursday, April the 9th, 2020. Now, if you were paying attention yesterday, you might have heard me say that we were going to talk about some more graphing things about quadratics. Well, I've been having a few technical issues with that PowerPoint, and so I kind of had to scrap that idea, and I went back to another idea that we need to go over, the quadratic formula, which is a method to find out the x-intercept or the zero of any quadratic equation. This method, negative b plus or minus b the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a, always works. And I mean always works. So it's always a good tool to have. Now, I want us to be able to take this statement, this y is equal to x squared plus 6x minus 10, and I want to figure out, alright, how do I build a quadratic equation around it? And all I need for that is my a, my b, and my c. And then I'm just going to put them in where the a, the b, and the c are in the formula. That's literally all you need to do. There's very little thinking involved in this. And so x is equal to negative b. Well, b is 6, so a negative b would be a negative 6. Do remember, the a, b, and c are not the x's. They are the coefficients in front of the x's. Minerva girl. And so, once we have that negative b, I'm going to put plus or minus the square root of that 6 squared minus 4 times a, which in this case, remember, it is a 1 because it is the number in front of the x, times 1 times c, which is a negative 10, all divided by 2 times that 1. Now that's the most basic form. I've put everything into its proper place. Now all I need to do is clean it up. Do remember, this could be in parentheses because you need to handle all that multiplication first. And also remember, you're always going to flip whatever the sign is for this first b. If your b is positive, well, it's going to be negative there. If your b is negative, it's going to be positive there. All right, let's clean this up. X is equal to negative 6 plus or minus 36, because 6 times 6 is 36, and then negative 4 times 1 times a negative 10 is a positive 40, and then 2 times 1, obviously 2. When you're doing this, make sure to have this denominator cover everything, because you're going to divide everything by 2. I've had so many students want to do like 36 plus 40, then you divide it by 2. You don't do it that way. Do not do it that way. Anyways, one final step to clean this up. X is equal to negative 6 plus or minus, and now the plus or minus means you're going to have two answers. You're going to have where it's x plus this, and then you're going to have where it's x minus that. 36 plus 40 should be 76, divided by 2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to stop there because this is our answer if we're simply trying to build. If we're simply trying to put a quadratic formula together, that's all I need to do. Now, if I wanted to calculate that, always get out your handy-dandy calculator or your website that you can use. Definitely going to talk about Desmos tomorrow, but for right now, that's all I'm going to put. But moving on, for this check for understanding, I want you to take this equation, put it into your quadratic formula, and just get to the same spot that we did last time. Take 5 seconds. Pause the video, see what you can do, and then we'll be able to move on. So your answer should be x is equal to negative 13 plus or minus the square root of 213 divided by negative 2. That should be your answer, your final answer. Now, Mr. K, how did we get to that? Well, what's your A, B, and C? Your A should be 1, your B should be 13, and your C should be a negative 11. Once you have that, plug them in. Now, on this one, I will go step by step. On the next problem, I will not go step by step. I'm gonna fill in like, hey, you should be able to say it's this, you should be able to say it's that, you should be able to say it's that, and you're done, rather than like, okay, this, then that, then this, then that, then this, then that, and this, so on and so forth. All right, negative b, so negative 13, just like we have at the end, plus and minus, remember you're gonna have two answers, 13 squared minus 4, or 4 times 1. Oh no, that should be a positive 2 down there. Don't know why it should be a negative 2. It should be a positive 2. Correct me. Alright, times that negative 11. All divided by 2 times 1, which I'm just going to put as 2. Next step, x is equal to negative 13 plus or minus the square root. 13 squared is 169. Negative 4, because that's, remember, that's a negative 4, times 1 times a negative 11 is a positive 44. Because remember, two negatives multiplied together is equal to a positive. And 169 plus 1 plus 44, 213. Once again, building these should be relatively easy, which is good because now we're actually going to solve them. Because solving things are a good way to get, come on, back up. It's a good way to know whether or not what you're doing is right. So, obviously, for an A I have a negative 1, for B I also have a 1, for C I have a positive 15. Let's build this. My x-intercept, or my x, remember your x-intercept is your x value, where it crosses the x-axis, which is this. This horizontal line is your x-axis. So when you're trying to find an x-intercept, or a 0, or a root, you're just trying to find the specific part where it crosses the x-axis. Alright, x is equal to a negative 1, because since that's a positive 1 there, this one's going to be a negative 1, plus or minus the square root of 1 squared, which is just 1, minus 4 times a negative 1 times a 15. Now, negative 1 times 2, since that's a negative 1 up here and we're trying to figure out the denominator, would be a negative 2. Alright, what's a negative 4 times a negative 1 times a 15? That's right, kids, it is a positive 60. So I have negative 1 plus or minus the square root of what's 1 plus 60, 61, all divided by negative 2. Now, parents, students, you might say, square root of 61 isn't a perfect number. You're right, it's not. In fact, it doesn't even have any other smaller numbers that it breaks down into to help break down the thing. It's a prime number. Square root of prime number typically is going to be something very funky. But we'll make do. At this time, I would say, all right, either use a calculator or something. Square root of 61, I would put as, remember x, our x value, is equal to -1 plus and minus 7.81 divided by -2. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, your question splits off, your problem splits off into two parts. One, where you have -1 plus 7.81, and then the other one where you have -1 minus 7.81. So I'm actually going to write that now. I'm going to put one in red. -1 plus 7.81 divided by -2. Well, that's 7.81 minus 1, which is 6.81. 6.81 divided by 2. 6.81 divided by a -2 gives you a -3.4, essentially. -3.4. That's a very ugly 4. So that was where we had -1 plus 7.1. Let's try -1 minus 7.1. I might not use this color again. This color is hurting my eyes. Well, that should give me a -8.81. Divided by a -2, and that is going to give me a 4.4. Positive 4.4. Alright, write this back in black if you have any AC/DC fans in your family. X, my solutions for x are a -3.4 and a positive 4.4. Let's double check these. What's that? A -x squared plus x plus 15? -x squared plus x plus 15. Ooh, what's this? 4.405 once you have rounding, and -3.4. So our solutions are correct. Ladies and gentlemen, take this question, do it yourself. The only thing I'm going to help you with is do the initial setup. X is equal to a positive 1, because remember you flip that b, plus or minus the square root of a -1 squared minus 4 times 1 times -20. Remember, negative times negative is a positive, all divided by 2. Because remember, 2 times 1 is 2. Ladies and gentlemen, your answers, if I'm doing this correctly, should be x is equal to a -4 and a positive 5. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see this one worked out, definitely comment on the video. Speaking of comments, one thing I should let you guys know is that starting next week there are going to be assignments every day in either the Microsoft Teams or the class notebook. If you go to the About page on this channel, you should be able to see a link that will allow you to get into Microsoft Teams. You're going to need your name, your birth date, and your lunch code in order to get into Microsoft Teams. And also don't forget, if you need any help getting into that, you can always email me. I believe I have my email also on the information page of the channel. Boys and girls, you do need to help spread
this information to all the other students who need to be working on this stuff as well. Can't be just like the 5 of you guys who are listening in. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a great Thursday. We'll have a little bit of a different type of video tomorrow. Once again, stay safe, stay inside.